Barbara Hepworth, carving a way into modern sculpting. Barbara Hepworth was a leading lady in the sculpting world, growing up in Yorkshire, England, also being known as one of the UK's foremost sculptors. She aspired to not just have her artworks merely looked at, but to be experienced through the openness of the works of art. Hepworth worked in with such mediums as stone, wood, and different kinds of metals, pioneering a new way to make art. Hepworth always thrived to experiment with different mediums that were out of the ordinary, but at the same time made us look at our natural landscape through different perspectives. Producing work until her death in 1975, she continues to bring us joy to others as they are able to attend her studio that is now turned into a museum where some of her most important pieces are held and stored. Her earliest inspiration was riding around with her father as he repaired and maintained roads and bridges and dams. Along with similar structures, this is where her love of landscape started. While Hepworth attended the Royal College of Art in London, she went against the norm, as she and a fellow student, one in particular named Henry Moore. He was known as one of the most important British sculptor artists of the 20th century. Even though Hepworth started this craze, Moore was known internationally versus Hepworth, only really being known in the UK. She, along with Moore, carved right into stone instead of making maquettes out of clay. First to make the final form of the sculpture, Hepworth was not a fan of modeling, as shown in Figure 1, taking inspiration from her version rather than a live model, when at the time carving from a life model was more appropriate for a female. For the time, her innovative way of thinking, as well as her contributions to the art world, as far as artworks helped lead others. Charlotte Moth as well as a huge influence on Rachel Whitread. These women were more excited about working with other mediums because of Hepworth's ingenuity and passion for the arts. This is shown when Whitread's was compared to Hepworth's Figure 3 versus 5. Even though you could see different styles, Whitread's inspiration was clear in these figures. Women normally felt as if they had to sell their artwork cheaper than males because females were rated less than males. These rates were given by museums and expeditions. They were showed at the discrepancies in pay were sadly harder. Hepworth used materials that were affordable to her at certain times in her life. She started working in stone because at that time she was training at Royal College of Art in London, and working in stone was the first thing artists were trained on. After college, she moved on to things like larger stone work, wood, metals, and iron. Using these types of affordable materials led her to make a bigger profit off her art, and which had led to even more works of art with a better percentage of selling them or going into exhibit. A few of meanings that Hepworth likes to use: semiotics, in her works of art. Even as a deconstructed pieces, her symbolic meanings of the work still come across clearly to some. Also, using her progressive views, she fought for women's rights, for equality in the art world. Hepworth wanted to prove that a woman's art was no different than a male's art form. At the end of the day, even though the different views of Tate at St. Ives in Porthmore Beach, Yorkshire, Sculptor Park in Breton Hall in West Breton, Wakefield, Yorkshire, and Leech Life, and artwork. These museums pushed her to perfect her art as a whole to the point where she could be well known if promoted enough. Her problem then was the promotion being a male driven force behind the most important and famous museums. That promotion was simply just not there for women in art. Mother and child. This is the deconstructed marble based made out of Cumberland alabaster. The bigger form is known as the mother, as the smaller form is known as the child is resting by its side. Other names for this piece would be the large and small form. This mother form has a circle removed from the middle of the lower part of the form. This part is where Hepworth wanted to show that child form was coming out of the mother rock, which is ironic because in ceramics and stonework, the soil mixed with water from the mother rock is the same clay used to make stone work projects. So in this form called mother and child, the clear marble came from a mother rock, which adds another layer to this artwork's meaning. The reason Hepworth's background and works means so much to the art history community is because she was someone who was not afraid to work outside of her comfort zone with not only materials that made it into her works, but in a professional outlook. With the dealing with a management of museums, she has worked hard to earn a place in the history books, but because of a male dominance in the art world, and with many still having to view women not only as objects but as subjects, she would have never highlighted like great male sculptors. Hepworth has proven that she could, with hard work and an outlook that brings everyone at the same equality, and with a different outlook on how we view things, art can be fun and amazing adventure to surround yourself with. I personally love her work and wish more of it was here displayed in the United States, but as for now, her shop was transformed into its own museum, with most of these works still there. Next thing us as humans need to consider is simply why and when will we change for the better.